one of us and ask a question.
So I guess if we could start it with what was all of yours favorite movie?
Are we talking about any movie or Star Wars?
I guess I just heard that. Star Wars movie.
I'll go with The Empire Strikes Back. Because, you know, I am a hopeless romantic, and that's where the girl finally gets her man. And that's what I liked.
I'll go with that. I'll back on that.
What's your favorite Star Wars movie?
I loved Attack of the Clones up until my head come off. I lost interest after that.
My question is for Harry and Peter. Most of the movies have a lot of CGI, but obviously the original trilogy, you guys are coming to patients. What was the hardest place for you guys to draw?
A little bit of the Forest of Endor on Jedi, but the closest carry-on I ever got was in the Millennium Falcon cockpit. We were she was almost sitting in my lap at one stage, but we all got into laps. So you imagine about 3 foot space no bigger than the table, and it was when the attack was going on in Empire, and we had to go back and pick up Mark. Billy D was there, and that was about the closest that Gary and I ever got.
Wow. Heavy. You know what was a bad thing to shoot probably? When they froze Harrison, and it was all that steam. There was really a lot of steam there. There was no, like CGI steam. So that, and also when they shot the blue screen of the little speeders going through Endor, I used to sit on that speeder for hours and just read books. And when they did the goodie reel, they did a reel of me reading books going through the forest.
And those speakers were uncomfortable.
They were not comfortable, no. And I had to reshoot the hologram speech, which is why I can't forget it. That's why I get the electroshock, to try and get that butter out of there.
From a writing perspective, is there any particular scene or dialogue from any of the Star Wars movies that you particularly admire?
Admire? There's a good word. Admire. Well, you know, just the fact that he would just make up, you know, all these places and names of things that didn't exist and make them so real for all of you that were all here 70 years later. Saying things like the, you know, planet of Endor with complete authority, like we all know what that is. So, from a writer's point of view, he invented a whole universe. So that's pretty powerful. You know, Hemingway didn't do that. But he drank more than George, so.
My question is for Carrie. First of all, I look so much like a guy right now. Also, I'm sorry, you're so hot. Also, my question is, when you were wearing the slave leg bikini, did you ever take it off the set and just like strut around in it a little bit because you look so hot in it?
I didn't know I looked hot because, what was I, like 23 and 23, I defy any of you to have confidence. But, I mean, real confidence. You know what I did that was really cool with the, no, I didn't wear the thing home. I must have known it looked good. You know, we did a photo shoot for the Rolling Stone cover, and we went up like north between like Santa Barbara and California with all those animals, you know, and did like this beach shot with me in the metal bikini and all these monsters. I don't remember who all was there, but I had a double. And she was wearing the same outfit. And we used to go around together like the Doublemint twins. That I liked a lot. And I really liked killing Jabba. They wanted to know if I wanted my stand-in to kill Jabba. And I was like, shh, no. I didn't kill that drooling bastard from the first moment I saw it. So that.
My question is for Carrie and Peter. This is about when you filmed the first Star Wars A New Hope. What was it like having Peter over there and David Prowse and Darth Vader suit reading off all their lines like normal and having no idea what it was going to sound like once the movie actually came
out? My Darth Vader man, he would call him Darth Farmer because he had like, and then princess would want to know the location of the rebel bases. And he'd come in that giant outfit, no way to see his face, right? He'd come in and he'd make a mistake with the dialogue, like that happened. He'd come in and go, and then princess, they want to know the location of the, oh, sorry, George. And like go back out, we want to reshoot it. He's in a fucking plastic mask. He would always think that it mattered. So that was not funny at the time, funny now.
I was always very careful, especially when you're shooting certain scenes, that you learn the last word of the person that is talking before Chewie does his growls. So you don't learn script. You learn words that when it clicks into your brain, so that your reaction to a certain word should be a certain thing. So, and you cannot sit there like a dummy. You've got to be acting or body movements, eye movements, and things like this, and hope that your actions come in and work with everybody else's reactions. So, you know, it takes a little doing, but it is possible to do. So, and I could hear everything, so I didn't. That was not a problem. But I can understand Dave being in that zone a long time with that West Country accent that he got. Mine, I just made noises, and it all depended what you had for lunch. So you were shooting in the afternoon, and you've been in the bar for lunch, so you can have totally different noises and reactions because I knew that they were going to put the noises on afterwards, and Ben Bird, the guy who did it, made a very good job of it. Thanks to him, Chewie became a household name almost. a learning experience that you wouldn't get in any drama school. You would not get it because it would be on to you learn on the set. So, and hopefully by the end of the day, you would learn something. That's the way I learn it.
Hello, this question is for Carrie. Being from a family that's been in the business and having been in the business a long time yourself, I was wondering what changes you've seen in the business during your career and what changes you'd still like to see.
Well, the whole reality show thing, I spent many years trying to escape reality, so the fact that I would tune into it on TV and watch the shit, they're calling it unscripted shows now. No, you know, it's too easy. It's a shame. I was watching one of the new something. And it just was all computerized, right? And it just looked like something that, well, anybody can do it. So that's like the good news and the bad news. You know, I mean, anybody can kind of go into their computer now and make these wild images, can't they? Or have I been misinformed? And so it's not as hard won. And hard won, I like. I was used to hard won. So things have gotten easier in one sense. So it's more difficult for someone to feel as accomplished when it's easier to get to. You know what I mean? So that. And you know, the preoccupation with everyone to watch people circle drains. Not that I'm not a rubbernecker from way back, but I don't know, that's the other thing that sort of like informed all of our entertainment now. We like to watch people struggle with their addictions and their hoarding and their... and I'm all for people not being ashamed of their stuff. But I don't know that I also always consider it entertainment. So, there.
Good afternoon and welcome to Atlanta. My question is for all of you actually. I felt the original Star Wars was excellent as it was, but I hear that there might be changes and fixing things that were bad or wrong. What are your opinions on the fixing of the originals, and if you had to, which ones would you fix?
I think that George changed things for the better 90% of the time. He didn't fix your bra on your bikini, but that's another story. To me, the best one was Empire Strikes Back, where he opened Cloud City up, made it like it was a proper town. He took the windows out of the circular place and he made it more lifelike rather than just a cylindrical atmosphere in space. So, you know, that's just one thing. The improvements, the cantina scene of Star Wars, Mos Eisley, was you had, in the original you had no monster, and you know, none of the big characters. But in the other one, in the revised edition, you had all those monsters and stuff that were going around. Well, the new ones I don't know anything about.
The only thing I'll say is that the Clone Wars, George is actually very much involved in all of the stories
and the making of the Clone Wars. I think some people are confused about that. They're not quite sure if it's just Dave Filoni and his crew, or if George is directly involved. And he is. He's directly involved in all the decisions, especially all of the stories. And I said this on the panel yesterday, I'm humbled by the fact that some of our stories give you backstory into the movies. So you can actually watch all the movies in order and watch our series and find out bits and pieces the fact about where Chewbacca came from. And that's directly from George. So I wouldn't necessarily call that a change, I would just call it more backstory.
I agree with that.
This message is for Carrie. In episode 4, when Luke gets out of his X-Wing and he doesn't yell Leia, he yells Carrie.
Really?
Yeah. Did you at first recognize this, or were you just...
This is the first I'm hearing of it.
And he steps down and he's like, Carrie! And...
Oh man, I gotta go watch that now. I have no idea.
It's crazy because every single re-release is still in there. So I'm
Good.
curious if Lucas himself has saw it, or it's just like, oh, we'll keep it there.
Hey, I don't know what you're talking about, so that is awesome. I'm gonna have to go back and look. I don't think, if George knew, he would probably, I don't know if he would take it out or not. But I don't know what you're talking about in the best sense. I do know that because you didn't let me wear bras in space, that when you see me and Harrison come to greet Mark when he's come back from his whole thing in the first one, and I come running down the whatever the hell, I needed a bra. I'll leave it at that.
Hello, Peter and Carrie. This question is for you. Being the two original people from the original Star Wars back in filmed, 75 or 76, I'm not even sure. I've always wondered, you all started filming this film, and there were no special effects all set up. You had this crazy stilted dialogue like, I recognized your little stench when I was first sorry, bad British accent. What did you make of this, for heaven's sake? You must have...
Oh, that dialogue was hell. And the first scene that I had to shoot was, I thought I recognized your mouth, and can I write that more? And I wanted to say it sort of like this. Oh my God, I got on board and I thought, what is that smell? It must be Governor Tarkin, the guy stinks to high heaven. And, so George pulled me aside and he says, no, you're really, really serious. You're very upset. This is your planet and record collection and everything is going to be blown up. And so it was impossible to do it without that stupid English accent that I had. How do you say that regular? I thought I recognized your foul stench when I arrived on board. No, it can't be. Tarkin can still smell that bad after all this time. So it ended up being, I thought I recognized your foul stench when I arrived on board. And I've regretted it ever since. But arch and British and non-human.
This one is for Peter. How was it like to be in the Chewbacca costume? Was it hard to get on or is or anything?
It was probably the third worst costume on the movie. Two others that were worse. One was Vader's, and the other one was 3PO's. I felt sorry for him every morning, having to get bolted into plastic metal with leather trousers and jerkins and things like this. Me, it was a costume, it was a one-piece suit that zipped up the back, and there was a mask, there was a face cast of my own face, and a pair of boots that had all the fur on. And so basically you had a undersuit, a padded jacket, and the costume. The worst part was getting it on and then standing there for about 3 hours getting the costume brushed out. I used to go into Carrie's dressing room, got any hairspray, and she'd throw one at me and close the door. Okay, he doesn't like me anyway, so. And I wouldn't dare go back and ask for another one. I got through 400 brushes during the preparation, because everything, all the hair, which was mohair, yak hair, had to be all combed out so that it looked absolutely perfect. And Kay Freeborn was the lady. Once she finished carrying, she'd come along and look at me and groom me down and get me ready and push me on onto the set. And I'd do my piece, come back, take the head off, and back to normal. You know, the costume never got to me that I was actually Chewie, whereas other people, someone in a black suit and someone in a gold suit, thought that they were the actual. It didn't affect you that way. You look at it along the lines of my costume is still around. It's probably in the scrapyard. And I know where mine is, so Georgia can look after it for me. The costume was okay. It was better out on location. We didn't go to Tunisia on the first one. We went to Finns in Norway on the second one, which was cold, about 21, 22 degrees below. And I remember a certain young lady coming up on the train looking like a teddy bear. You had your blue harvest jacket, fur hood. You and Harrison came up together. Only because sorry, we'll retake that. Only because the snow had blocked the line. You couldn't get in any other way except by train. So, back to the costume. Most of it was fine. Even on Jedi Human, there was a wind blowing, and the Jabba's barge was 80 feet high and about 120 feet long. So get up in one of the
great pressure being the father of a play?
Yeah, well, for me, I wasn't one of these Star Wars. I lived down in New Zealand, and when the whole Star Wars thing came out, I was it grabbed me that way. But many years later, when I did have the chance to meet the casting agent, we had a little chat in Los Angeles, and then a few months later, I was back in New Zealand, and the phone rang. Yep, Tim here. Tim, we'd love you to play Django Fett. I dropped the phone with such joy. I went, yes! Who's Django Fett? And so I went out to get Star Wars I could get hold of and find that Boba Fett guy. And the first one I got, he wasn't even in the movie. And I had to get the second one. And I guess I owe a lot to the fact that Boba Fett kind of had that wonderful following and was one of the cool dudes being a bounty hunter, except for that wussy scream he let out every now and then. But it was just fantastic for me to be blessed and be part of the whole family, the whole saga, the whole galaxy. But it was a blessing that George came down to Sydney, Australia, and that's probably subsequently why New Zealand and Australian actors got hired. We were local.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was very blessed to be part of that whole Fett family, and it's great to be here in Atlanta. And every autograph I sign, I hear them say, now I've got all of you. I've got all the Fets. So at least I'm making a few fans happy.
My question is for Carrie. What was it like kissing Han Solo?
Harrison does not like screen kissing. There was a story that I believe he told that he put an oyster in his mouth for one of his screen kisses, thank God, prior to myself, and slipped that oyster into his co-star's mouth. So it wasn't his favorite thing to do. So let's just say he didn't put an oyster in my mouth, so that was good. But you know, Harrison, I thought he was very good looking. You know, when he walked on the set, I thought, when I was 19, and I thought, wow, he's like Bogart. That guy's going to be a star. And no offense, but that was the only person I looked at and had that reaction. I'm sorry. No, he was epic. Oh, I see. Yeah. Anyway, there was something epic about Harrison, so I was glad to be his, whatever I was. Not his sister.
So I worked with Harrison Ford on a movie called 6 Days, 7 Nights, and I learned to do, he gave me a trick. He'd like camera me up here, right? And I go, Harrison, what's your kind of technique to get into the scene? And I think I just watched Air Force, where he played the president. And the other actor was a guy called Gary Oldman, who was a pretty intense English theater actor. Of course, and I was asking him about what it was like to work with Gary Oldman, and did he rant and rave and work himself up and get himself worked up before every scene? He goes, yeah, he's a bit of a ranter, that guy. I said, well, I don't see you ranting and raving everywhere, Harrison, you know, getting himself worked up. And and he just goes like this. Points the pirate down this morning. You know, put all the energy there. It's kind of cool technique, isn't it? Yeah. Especially on the close-ups. Anyway, sorry about that.
This question is for Ashley. You do a great job of making Ahsoka seem so very real. What sort of things do you do to prepare for Ahsoka's performance?
Oh, well, luckily, from the very beginning, they let me use my own voice. In the casting process, they wanted me to use an Icelandic accent, but what I found out later after I mastered an Icelandic accent, that nobody knew what an Icelandic accent actually sounded like. So I went in and did the audition with a true Icelandic accent, and you know, they hit the button, because in a studio, they have to hit this button so you can hear them, and they said, no, we want it to sound more like an Icelandic accent. And so I usually never speak back. And I raised my hand and I said, I'm sorry, but I'm doing an Icelandic accent. I don't know what you want. And maybe that snippiness is kind of what they wanted, because I found out later that it wasn't because of my audition, really. It was just my body movements and kind of personality in between takes. And I was fortunate that they let me just bring that to the character. So Dave worked with me from the beginning and kind of just letting me be myself and bring my own kind of sarcasm to the character. And at first, I know she was really annoying. I apologize about that. I think she's come a long way. But now it's easier to get into, because we've been doing these characters for almost 6 years. So, but really I have it easier, because I kind of just am myself. My husband, he'll hear me say a line in an episode, or give a facial expression, because the animators have animated Ahsoka's face to some of my expressions, and he'll say, oh geez, I've seen that look before. So it's not too difficult now, but thank you. I mean, one thing Dave has always said is he doesn't want the characters to be cartoony at all. He wants us to be very real, which is kind of the opposite of a lot of cartoons out there. They want it to be really over the top. And if you come into our studio, it's just like an on-camera TV show or movie behind the microphone. And that's the thing. Some people say with voiceover, it's not really acting, but it is. It's acting. It's like doing a scene in front of a camera. Thank you.
This is from Mr. Morrison. Two things. One, what's it like going back and watching the classic trilogy now with your voice in it? And what do you think of the take that Clone Wars has taken on the character of your voice?
Yeah, I was waiting for somebody to ring me in New Zealand and say, we'd love your voice to be in that Clone Wars. But then when I did, I think my son was watching it, and I could, boy, that guy sounded a little like me. But, yeah, well, it's just the way it goes. I never got the phone call. We can't get a phone call for everything. But that's no problem. Now, what was the first question about the...
Your voice in the classic trilogy.
Yeah, well, it was just one of those things that I think George wanted continuity. And we revoiced some of some of the previous dialogue that we were revoicing, just to keep that continuity all the way through. Since I was Django and all the clones, that kind of thing. Comes in handy. Voiceovers every now and then. Especially in this business. It pays to be versatile. One of my first voiceovers was actually how I got to America in the first place. I was blessed to do a voiceover for Air New Zealand, our airline. And I had to go, Air New Zealand, the airline of the world's greatest travelers. And instead of getting paid, I asked if I could get a free flight to Los Angeles and try my luck in Hollywood. So I owe my Hollywood career to my voice.
character is phenomenal. And your voice, like before this, said lends so much to that character. So you cross all generations. I myself sit down with my son to watch it. So I just want you to know how much that means to everybody. My son has a question.
Thank you.
I just wanted to know how to be chosen because your voice is so good.
Well, thank you. What's your name?
Julian?
Julian? Oh, wow. Well, thank you very much. He wants to know how I was chosen. And again, they had designed the character before we auditioned, so they already had the drawing of Ahsoka before I went in. They did that with all the characters. And because she was a new character, they didn't quite know what they wanted. Like I said, at first they wanted Icelandic. And Dave Filoni said he didn't really know until he heard it. And like I said, I really got the character more for what I did in between takes because I just could not give them the accent they wanted. And I was really beating myself up in between takes, like, you know, put my arms in the air and, you know, just really reacting, being over emotional, which I usually never do. And it turns out that that's what they wanted because Ahsoka, being a Padawan, she makes a lot of mistakes. And they wanted that sort of attitude in that character. And Dave also didn't want her to be bratty. I know some people felt in the beginning she was, but you know, how do you say Sky Guy and some of those nicknames and not sound like a total brat? And so that was the goal, is, you know, to make her snippy and spunky and confident, and actually a lot Carrie, like yourself, all the time in the studio, Dave uses lines that you said in the movies for reference. So I had to study your performance because he really wanted to bring your personality to Ahsoka, and because Princess Leia was such a role model for so many young girls, and they wanted to replicate that with Ahsoka and not have this kind of damsel in distress, but this girl that could kick butt and hold her own. And so that's what we went after with Ahsoka. Ahsoka doesn't need to be saved. Ahsoka can save herself. And that's what we went after, just a spunky, confident girl that isn't a spoiled, rotten brat. And that's what we tried to achieve.
My question is for Peter and Carrie. When Christmas time comes, do you guys ever feel tempted to watch the Star Wars Holiday Special?
Use that now instead of waterboarding, I hear.
It was...
Let's make Jamie watch that thing.
It was one of those shows that I, as Judy, learned a lot about my family. A family that I knew nothing about. And it was just nice to know that I have got a wife. I think I got a transsexual wife. Because my wife was played by an actor who was 6'4" and about 300 pounds. So this gets better. My daughter, or my son, was played by a little female, and my father-in-law was played by a 19-year-old student. And our Trader Dan was one of my favorite people. Looking at the American comedies gets with our Carney, which was, you know, he got such a good, depending on what your sense of humor is, he's either got a good sense of, he's funny or he's disgusting, but he played, as I say, Trader Dan, and it was, there again, an interesting experience to to see how other people react while they were around each other. We got paid for it, and that's all we can say about it. Anybody want a copy of it? I've got about 400 at my table. I'm joking. No, I don't even know if I got one. But
we celebrate.
Glass balls.
Well, this is for everyone. What do you guys all have coming up next?
I've got 2 books out. Not 1, 2. One shows the differences between large people and small people, and the other shows my life of how my size changed my life when I came across and had an interview with George for Star Wars. We've got them at the table, and we're in the Walk of Fame, so come over and see us. We've got all the pictures as well as the 2 books. That's what we're working on at the moment.
I have a book coming out in November called Chocoholic. It's another anecdotal memoir like wishful drinking. It's been a drag to do, man. I can't imagine these people at the publishing house have just screwed up everything with the pictures, like high-res this, high-res that. And I also am doing wishful drinking here and there and everywhere. And I'll probably, make another show out of that book. So, and I have another thing that's the best awful that I'm trying to make into a cable thing with Meg Ryan. So that's
I wrote a book with Penguin in New Zealand called From Haka to Hollywood. Haka's like our traditional dance. And I got a letter recently and it had the Penguin letterhead. I went, at last, my royalty check. I opened it and it said, due to lack of sales, we are taking your book off the shelf. Oh, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Lucky I can do other things. Yeah, I went back to New Zealand. There's a few projects in the wind. To get a film up and running these days is very, very difficult just to get the finance together. Sometimes it takes 4, 5, 7 years. We finally got some finance for a little film back in New Zealand. It's called Fresh Meat. Got a kind of cannibalistic tone to it, and a bit of a comedy, shock, horror kind of thing. We hope to start filming in November in New Zealand, Wellington. And I heard some director of Captain America was going to make a Boba Fett movie. So I was going to try and look for that guy. I guess, but he might want someone a little bit younger. That's normally the case, isn't it? But you never know. Here's hope.
Well, last year I started a company called Her Universe, where all of the female fans out there, because most people don't realize that half of all sci-fi fans and half of all Star Wars fans are women, and we were tired of wearing boxy t-shirts. So I started the first merchandise line exclusively for women, and we're here right outside the Walk of Fame. We've got Star Wars stuff. For all those Boba Fett fans out there, because I think we have a lot, we have an underwear set that across the bum it says, I have a Boba fetish. So you might want to go check out that underwear set. But definitely check us out. We're here, like I said, right in the Hilton, right outside the Walk of Fame. And in the fall, I just did the voice of a character in the movie coming coming out called Escape from Planet Earth, and I'm the voice of an alien princess, an alien princess. So it's the One Two Brothers next animated film that's coming out. So check that out. Not the fall, the spring, but definitely check out her universe for all the ladies.
All right, and if we could just give our stars a big round of applause.